Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and I have a few announcements. First of all, don't forget Wellness Forum holiday gifts are a great way to recognize people during this season. That's what I send to people and they love them. Gingerbread biscotti and no-bake cookies. I mean, everything is beautifully packaged and it's much more beneficial for people than buying them sweaters and tchotchkes to put on the coffee table. So you can go online. We have our holiday gifts posted online at wellnessforum.com this year. Second thing is we are posting on the members' website holiday tree decorating tomorrow from our party last week. You'll find this fun and entertaining, emphasis on the entertaining part. Watch what goes on around the Wellness Forum when we're just having a great time. And next week, the last one of the season is Cooking with Chef Dell Holiday Cookies. And he's even going to use one of my recipes. You heard that right. I actually used to write recipes too. I do know how to cook, even though I don't do it very often anymore. Third thing, the second section of the Advanced Study Program this month for the PSA testing, the book Richard Avedon wrote called The Great PSA Hoax, which is enlightening and infuriating at the same time. That will be this Wednesday. So the recording can still be listened to from Class 1 if you missed that and you want to pick up Class 2. And then last but not least, it is time to enroll for winter semester 2015. I cannot even believe those words came out of my mouth, 2015, but it is that time of year when it's time to get started for school next year. The Institute's winter semester starts January 19th, and so you have plenty of time to figure out which classes you want to take. You can either go online and look at the schedule, or you can send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Okay, two topics I have for today, and the first one involves low-dose aspirin. I've been covering this for a long time. The idea that aspirin should just be taken by everybody once they turn 50 years old, and it's a great way to prevent cardiovascular events, actually isn't so true. And according to a new study, patients, even with several risk factors, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol, do not benefit by adding a daily aspirin to their regimen. There was no difference in the incidence of non-fatal heart attack or death from cardiovascular causes. The net benefit in some cases was very questionable because there was an 85% increased risk of extracranial hemorrhage. So bleeding has always been a problem with taking aspirin. There were also increased risks of adverse gastrointestinal events as a result of taking aspirin. So more harms than benefits. So to tell you just a little bit about the study, the Japanese Primary Prevention Project included over 14,000 patients who had no history of cardiovascular events but had risk factors. And by the time the second analysis of the data were performed, the monitoring committee recommended that the study be discontinued because of the adverse effects of taking aspirin. And so the study was discontinued. The risk of primary endpoints not any different in any of the disease risk factor groups and not different for those with or without family history of cardiovascular disease. That didn't make any difference. No differences in aspirin versus not taking aspirin in groups based on demographic factors such as age and sex. I mean, absolutely worthless. Now, a growing number of studies have made this exact same conclusion, so much so that the normally spineless FDA even issued an advisory this year that evidence did not support taking aspirin for primary prevention. So when the FDA is, I mean, they're not doing anything about it. People are still taking aspirin every day. But for them to even reach the point of discouraging the use of a drug tells you that there's a great deal of evidence. Now, there were some limitations of the study, which included the fact that it terminated earlier, so there was less follow-up time than originally intended. There's a lot of internet chatter among cardiologists online, and they point out that the patients were taking statins, and maybe the reason why there was no protective effect for aspirin is the statins were doing such a great job. Well, I have news for you, and you can read some of my articles on statins in the Health Briefs online library. They are miserably ineffective. I mean, taking Crestor reduces your risk of a major event by 1.2%, and taking Lipitor 1.6%. So the reason why aspirin didn't show so well in these studies is not because the statins are doing a great job, okay? The bottom line is that daily aspirin should not be taken by people for primary prevention, and I think it's even questionable for secondary prevention, particularly people who wise up and start eating a low-fat plant-based diet after a cardiovascular event. Okay, so now I want to talk about physical activity and physical decline. This time of year, we have to get the message across that you need to exercise, because it's that time of year when people just don't think they want to do it. But a lot of people still think that when you gain weight and lose muscle, it's just a sign of aging. All of us are going to start doing it. And actually we will, unless there's some type of intervention. There's a growing body of evidence, however, that humans are designed to remain really lean and fit and active until the end of their life. Okay, my dad turned 84 last week, and he weighs what he weighed when he graduated from high school. He's physically active. He takes care of his yard. He's busy all day long. So the humans do not have to decline a lot just because they're older. All right, the largest group of older and active people in the United States is actually athletes over the age of 40. And athletes is sort of a loose term. That's everything from people like me who run and box and do yoga to stay fit to people who do a lot of competitive events and that sort of thing. But a Center for Sports Medicine developed what's called the Performance and Research Initiative for Masters Athletes, or PREMA. And the original reason for forming this was to help maximize performance and minimize injury in athletes who are over 40 years of age. But the group has also published a lot of research showing that physical decline is not really due to getting older as much as it is to just not being active enough. So I'll report on just a couple of their studies that I think were pretty interesting. One PREMA study showed that significant performance declines really don't happen until people reach the age of 75. And even then, it's only 8% a year. And so this idea that, that at a certain age, you just get to the place where you can't be an athlete anymore or do athletic activities is absolutely silly. People can be incredibly high functioning until they reach age 75, and they can continue to exercise and to do all kinds of athletic things literally until the day they die. One thing that I find really inspiring, I don't know how many of you subscribe to a magazine called Runner's World. Well, being a runner, I do, right? So I love reading it for a lot of reasons, running tips and fitness tips and all that, but the stories are so inspirational. You know, people who are 90 years old running the New York Marathon. I don't know about you, but that's what I want to do. On my bucket list is not ending up in the nursing home. That's not on my list, okay? Running a marathon when I'm 95 sounds like a whole lot more fun. Well, another study showed that consistent exercise maintained bone density at normal levels until the athletes reached their 80s. But most important was a study that looked at lean muscle mass and aging athletes. The researchers reported that high levels of exercise prevented the loss of lean muscle mass and strength and fatty infiltration of muscle that you see in older and more sedentary people. And the researchers reported that decline in strength and function doesn't result from aging. It results from just not being active enough. So here's the thing, no more excuses. If you're out of shape, it's time to get moving. Your body was designed to function, fully function, until the last day of your life if you treat it right. And by the way, you know, I was on a radio show yesterday, and we were talking about this time of year, and the radio host asked me during the interview, she goes, well, do you think this is really a good time of year to start an exercise program? And I said, well, I don't know a better time of year. I mean, I don't know when's a good time. And, you know, people say, oh, wait until things slow down. Do things ever slow down? I don't know about for you, but they never do for me. And if you're waiting for a period of inactivity where you literally have nothing to do for blocks of time, I've never known anybody where that happens, right? So there's no time like the present to just say, look, I'm going to start making time for this because I want to have a fabulous, fabulous future and literally live until I die. All right? So, as always, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.